Welcome back, everybody, to the Get Back Guys podcast. This time, we're focusing on the NFC West. The guest we wanted for the Rams has been a busy schedule, so we ended up having to just do us three for this one. We're going to try to get the last three divisions out of the way before the season in 2 weeks here, right? It's next, not this Thursday, but the following Thursday.
September 10th?
Yep.
Yeah.
Quick. So we're just going to Nick and Kyle here with me as always, the host of the Get Back Guys. So Kyle, big Hawks fan, so we're going to do his division today. So Kyle, we'll just start with you. What are your thoughts of your team going into this season here?
They changed a little bit since we first started this podcast because I think I gave a little bit of a spiel on the Seahawks and saying that I don't trust their defense at all, and I wish we got more weapons of any sort to help out Russ, not just on offense but on defense. But that changed when we made a miraculous trade, kind of a big-time trade to get Jamal Adams, the safety out of the Jets. And then we also were able to have Quinton Dunbar start practicing with us after it looked like his situation with law enforcement was a bit sketchy at the time. But because of those two weapons, it definitely helped our secondary get a lot better than I think what it was last year. But I'm still nervous about the defensive line. It looks like John Schneider and Pete Carroll are really thinking that these guys that we have on the roster currently are going to make big-time plays, big-time impact. And right now, I just don't see that yet. I just feel like there should at least be someone to sign in free agency to help lend a hand. I think that would really be beneficial for the defense, but I'll remain hopeful. I think now with Dunbar and Wagner and Jamal Adams on that side, it's going to help our defense out, at least in the secondary, quite a bit, which means that Russ can really just start focusing and dial it in on the offensive side. Now that I don't think he'll have to worry as much about the defense kind of failing him time and time again like it was last year. So I think that we're looking pretty good on offense, though. It's just a matter of how exciting the offense will be. Will it be a smart offense? Are we going to make sure that Russ can get a lot more of an opportunity to really sling the ball and come up with the plays instead of it just being run constantly to where it's just, predictable for a lot of people? That's just what it boils down to, is how is this offense with like the weapons that we have plus the addition of like Greg Olsen, how is that going to translate? How are we going to change things up on the offense? We just have to wait and see. But with Russ at the helm, I still think that we're a winning organization.
I'll talk about the Niners. I will point out here about the Hawks. Nick is if you've been listening for a while, I'm sure you've heard a little bit, but Nick is a notorious, not the biggest fan of the Seattle Seahawks.
Couldn't imagine why.
I also have a bet with guest of the show, friend of the show, Zach, about the Hawks, which he just said to me, Russell Wilson is good enough. They're guaranteed 10 wins. So I said, I'll take that bet. If they win 9, you owe me, I'll bet you. So he's gonna owe me some drinks if that happens. And I didn't take it necessarily because I don't think the Hawks are there, but he just threw out such an intense guarantee. It's like, why not? So I do have a bet with him going on that one.
You'll get a free drink anyway.
So moving on,
it's a win-win.
The Niners. I think the 49ers, obviously, they lost the Super Bowl. I think they will have a little bit of a hangover. I am curious how their running backs are going to do. Was it Mostert who kind of came out of nowhere last year?
He tore it up second half.
If he can keep it. Everybody was so excited, but the guy was cut off of multiple teams, and that's not and off practice squads. Usually guys don't tend to just suddenly spark. Some obviously do. You look at like Kurt Warner's crazy career and things like that. I hope he ends up maintaining it, but I think there's some nerves there. Is their run game going to be that good again? I think their defense is great, and their offense is all right. They're going to be as good as Jimmy G can be. Jimmy G is an okay quarterback. So I think they'll be okay. I think they'll be a middle-of-the-road team who could maybe surprise. This division is tough. I think this is one of the toughest divisions in the league right now. But I think the Niners will be okay. I think they'll compete, but I think they'll have a little bit of a regression, and I wouldn't be surprised if they miss the playoffs. Nick, what do you think about the Cardinals?
So I will echo what you said. I do think the NFC West is has a potential to be the most difficult division in the NFL this year for sure. But I'm actually going to make a bold prediction. I do think the Cardinals have a really good chance to win this division. I think they are unbelievably underrated, and here's a few reasons why. Obviously, we could start on the offensive side of the ball. Kyler Murray was awesome last year. He obviously came on really strong in the second, kind of like 5-6 games. But even in the first game, you saw him make some great throws against that Detroit team to lead them to a tie, which was pretty impressive. They have DeAndre Hopkins. They have Kenyon Drake, who was basically an upgrade over what David Johnson was for them last year. And people also talk a lot about the offensive line, but they did pick up Josh Jones, the offensive tackle, in the second round of the draft, and he was projected to be a late first round pick, so they stole him. So I think offensively they're going to be for sure in the top 10, and I think Kyler Murray is going to be a right around top 10 quarterback. I don't think he's necessarily is going to be an MVP candidate, and I don't really think he needs to be, because I think this offense has enough weapons, and Cliff Kingsbury's a good enough play caller and kind of new enough that he doesn't need to be doing what Lamar Jackson did or what Patty Mahomes did or even Carson Wentz did in 2017 to really make this team competitive. And then people always talk about the defense, and I think they are overestimating the Cardinals' defense quite a bit, actually.
I think Isaiah Simmons is a steal.
Yeah,
Isaiah Simmons is also perfect for their scheme. So their biggest thing defensively last year was that they couldn't guard tight ends. Doesn't bode well when you have to go up against George Kittle twice a year, and you have to go
or
against
Will Dissly.
Will Dissly or Everett. That is a tough for their division. But they added Simmons, who's perfect for that, and their 2017 first round pick, Hassan Reddick, their linebacker. He's been kind of a bust for them, but they've moved him more to outside linebacker at the end of the year, which actually made their defense play quite a bit better. And you saw that big win against the Seahawks with Brett Hundley playing in the second half. And then you also look at their secondary, Buda Baker, who just got a huge contract. He's an incredible safety. They still have Patrick Peterson. They have Chandler Jones. They have Hicks at middle linebacker. Their defensive line is really solid. Schematically, their defense took a while to get caught up to kind of everything they wanted to do in a new scheme last year. They put the pieces together towards the end of the year. You saw a lot of improvement. With the addition of Isaiah Simmons, I think this defense is a middle-of-the-road defense, but that I think will be enough to actually place this Cardinals team potentially at the top of the division.
I do believe this offseason gave them a major bump up. I mean, on the offense, DeAndre Hopkins alone, and then on the defense, Isaiah Simmons alone is just a major bump up. I just don't see them winning the division yet. I still think that's very competitive, and I just see them being a wild card team that will make it really tough on the Niners and Seahawks. Rams might be a different story personally, but I just don't see them making that giant leap to where they can win the playoffs yet. I just think one more year.
Philly doing that in 2017 either.
What was that?
You didn't see Philly doing that in 2017 either. You were all against it until like week 7, and then you were like, all right, I'm wrong. Nick's point, I think, is perfect. I think the Broncos and Cardinals are the two teams that are primed the same way the Eagles were going into that 2017 year. Really good roster, really good depth, second-year QB that is loaded with offensive talent, which is what you need, and a good defense. Well, I mean, their defense wasn't good last year, but I think the Cards' defense is going to really take a step forward too. As for the Rams, and everybody can just kind of chime in here. We've got a very close friend who's a Rams. Shout out to other Kyle. I think the Rams are going to be okay. I think Sean McVay every year, their offense has gone down. Obviously, part of that has been because of Todd Gurley and the lack of the ability to run the football with his injury and then the backups that they had and the new running backs. But they're still a pretty good roster. I mean, having Aaron Donald alone makes your defense tough. And then you add Jalen Ramsey back there. I mean, it's a solid defensive group. I think with all these teams, I won't be shocked who misses the playoffs, and I won't be shocked who gets in. Does anyone have any more on the Rams there?
I like part of their draft. I mean, I was hoping that their wide receiver that they got in the second round, Van Jefferson, I was hoping he'd be a Seahawk. I thought he'd be perfect, but the Rams sniped him from me. Cam Akers has been sounding like he's been doing pretty well for the Rams right now, might even be the starter for them. So maybe they know something about this guy that we don't, and that's why they made sure to snipe him up. I just think that they're going to be sort of like a mini rebuild type of team. I think they'll be competitive, especially in the division, but I just think with some of the retooling that they're doing on offense, plus, losing, they do have Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, but they did lose Corey Littleton at the same time, and they also lost Dante Fowler. So I do think even though like they have some key pieces, like a lot of their defense did include like those guys who were big time players. So again, it's going to be still competitive for them. Like I do think Sean McVay is a great coach and he'll bring this team together, but I just don't see them. I see them being like the fourth best team, but that's not saying a lot because it's just so competitive and all these teams are great organizations right now.
Yeah, I think with the Rams, I think their last season is highly underrated. I think out of all the teams in the NFL, they were the closest to being like 2 plays away from winning a couple more games. They went 9-7, and the Seahawks went 11-5, but the Seahawks plus and minus was 7. And then the Rams was plus 30. So like the Rams were a pretty good team for being 9-7. They were a lot better than I think people gave them credit for because they just lost a couple of bad games during the year. But I do think you guys are right. They probably end up being closer to the bottom of the division. And I think the biggest reason is because of their offensive line. That's the one, I think their defense will be fine. They have Aaron Donald's the best pass rusher in the NFL. They have maybe the best cornerback in the NFL. And even though they lost Fowler and Littleton, I think they can kind of fill the gaps there. They still have Michael Brockers, who's a very quality lineman, defensive lineman. They're on the offense side of the ball. I think Akers will be fine for them. And it really comes down to if Jared Goff doesn't have time, they don't win games. And I think their offensive line is just too weak, and Jared Goff just cannot play under a mediocre offensive line at the level that they're going to need him to. But I still think they could win some big games this year because they have so much stars on their team, and like their defense with Ramsey and Donald is going to win them a handful of games. So I don't see them winning like 3 or 4 games, but I also don't see them winning like double-digit games probably unless something drastically changes.
All right, let's get into the schedule. We're going to start with the Hawks. Hawks open the year on the road in Atlanta. No fans. We're still unsure if they're going to pump in noise. I think they should. I think the home team should get a higher decibel count than the away team, but it shouldn't be too crazy. But I think so we're going to start. Kyle, how do you feel? Hawks at Atlanta Falcons. Are you taking the win there?
I do, but just by a smidge. Even though I believe in our secondary, we don't have preseason and we're only like in the middle of practicing right now. Like it's just around the corner before the season begins. And I could see it to where Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, I can see it to where like that trio, Hayden Hurst, who's their starting tight end now, I can just see it to where our defense just hasn't gelled quite enough and the Falcons can expose that on offense. But I just believe in Russ more than I do Matt Ryan, just in terms of talent. So I'm just going to go based off of that and say that the Seahawks get the win.
Well, you're taking the non-MVP for over an MVP winning quarterback. All right.
Don't bring it up.
I think that's a win too, but I think that's a fun game. I'd give it to the Hawks. Nick, what do you got?
I would also probably give it to the Seahawks, but I do think it's going to be pretty interesting to see how Todd Gurley is, because if he doesn't have some wear and tear and he's fresh, could be pretty big for them.
I forgot about that. That's right.
But also, I think it likely could come down to these offenses shredding both of the defenses and coming down to who has the ball last. Mm-hmm. And so, I think Matt Ryan's a good enough quarterback to where if he has 2 minutes left and he has the ball down by 3, that they might get a win there. But I'll go Seahawks. I think they're just a little more talented, probably.
All right, that's a win. Now Patriots at Hawks. Again, I think no other team except maybe Kansas City, home field advantage is so important to. Maybe my team, just because I know that how Philly plays so much better at home. But the Hawks, I know they flip back and forth, but that noise that their stadium can do is going to affect their home play this year. Pats at Hawks. I think even without the fans, though, I think the Hawks probably win that one. Nick?
I think the Patriots have a good chance to win that. I think I think the Seahawks, they also weren't that good at home last year. I think the Patriots are underrated. I think Cam Newton could really cause some problems for that defense, even though Bobby Wagner is awesome.
So
No, if Cam is able to be as mobile as he is, like I do see that being an issue. Other than Bobby, we don't exactly have the speed in our linebacking core, I guess, except for a rookie, but I don't know if he'll even be starting or not. So that could cause damage. What was that?
How old is Bobby now?
He is in his 30s now.
Okay, didn't answer my question. 30s?
He's like 30 or 31.
Yeah, something like that.
All right.
But besides that, though, even though I think like our defense will take a while to gel, I still think it's much more powerful than what the Patriots' weapons are. I mean, Julian Edelman I think he's very capable of having a chemistry with Cam Newton, and N'Keal Harry could be, a star in the making. We just have to wait and see. But I just feel more confident in my defense, so I'll take them.
That's a win. Now you stay at home, and the Cowboys come and roll on into town. Kyle, you winning that game? You started 2-0.
2-0. As much as it pains me to admit it, I could see it to where we lose that one. I don't know. I mean, I think the Cowboys team is it's strong on paper. It's just about the execution with them. They always either make the playoffs or they just barely miss it. But they're always just competitive. I could just see it to where Zeke can really run over our defensive line and then some. And CeeDee Lamb could be really promising. It could just be a weapon that we don't know how to handle. And, Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup are great under Dak Prescott. So it'll be another offensive game, I think. But I can't see a possibility where the Cowboys can be able to beat us. So I'll pick Cowboys.
I don't know, because normally offenses seem to start quick, right? And then defenses kind of catch up as the year goes on. But I have no clue what's
I think it's the other way around.
Is it the other way around then?
I think defenses typically start pretty quick and offensive take a little bit, right?
Yeah, it seems like.
But who knows this year?
Way.
This is a weird year. I don't know. Our offense is going to start slow, start fast. Same with defenses. So it's just going to be interesting. I think that's a loss just because I don't think you start 3-0, and I think the Cowboys might have the best roster of anybody of the first three teams you've played. Falcons closer, I think, than the Pats, because I think the Pats roster looks depleted, even though I like Cam. So I'd give you the loss there.
Yeah. Our run defense. Oh, you go, Nick.
Yeah, I just think the Cowboys have a lot of answers on the offensive end. That's your lack of pass rush, I think, is gonna be difficult to compete with that, because if Dak has all day, those receivers, no matter who's covering them, are gonna be able to get open. They have that much talent on the offensive end. Even though I don't think the Cowboys defense is that great, I still think it's probably good enough to get a win.
If they do get Earl, though,
that
does happen. I think Earl fits in their scheme well, as much as that pains me to admit. And that might even tip the scale more, I think, that's going to tip it more in the Cowboys' favor, especially playing you.
Yeah, Zeke can run over our run defense for sure. I don't think we really fixed anything on that. Again, defensive line, I just don't trust it yet. I think we still need to fix that, but we'll see. I don't know.
So now you go back on the road. You're going down to hot Miami from your rain-filled Seattle to play the Dolphins. Kyle, you winning that game?
Yeah, I think so.
Who's starting, though? Is it Tua or is it Fitzmagic?
Either way,
throws it up.
Either way, I just seeing Russ being able to take control of that game and give the team a win. I know the Dolphins' defense has improved, but again, they didn't. It just depends on chemistry. It just depends on slow moving. This is week 4. This is about the time where we see the last of all the rust before we really start seeing how teams are. So I think it'll just be because of all that rust happening still, I just see Russ being able to get a win.
Yeah, Seahawks win this game.
I think so too, but if Tua's playing, I think that's close. All right, it was on. Again, guys, follow us at the Get Back Guys on Twitter. We're tweeting all the time. Tweeted today, when we're filming this, the Vikings had traded for the man whose name is I can't say very well. So, Nick, how do you say it?
I think Kyle knows how to say it best.
Yeah, Yannick Ngakoue. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yannick Ngakoue.
Beast of a player. Jacksonville rebuild. Sent him over for nothing. And then signed him for 1 year. Hopefully he makes it his home kind of deal. I put it, we put it on our Twitter, does that tip the scale and make the Vikings top in that division? I don't know about that, but now the Hawks they're coming into Seattle to play after a big win on the road. Nick, did the Vikings win that game? They got a big pass rusher there to go along with some big boys they got on that defense.
Yeah, that's a huge pickup, and there is still, just really quickly on the Vikings trade, they have like no cap space, so they're gonna have to change a lot of things around. And the Dalvin Cook conversation, it's gonna be really hard for them to keep him around further. I would go Vikings this game with that pickup, and a big thing is Daniel Hunter. He's actually just like not practiced for like the last 10 days, and Mike Zimmer just like hasn't said why. And he said you'll find out on the injury report for the Daniel Hunter, their great pass rusher.
Mm-hmm.
And but so even if he is hurt to start the year, I think by this time he'll be healthy, and that means that their pass rush and their young cornerbacks might start kind of getting going. And someone like Justin Jefferson might be a little bit more into the offense. So I'll go Vikings, but I think that's another close matchup as well. I just think that's a huge pickup for them because that pass rush needed someone else. And even though I don't think the Vikings are contenders all of a sudden, this definitely puts them back into the playoff race, I think.
Kyle?
Yeah, before this, I would easily say the Vikings, just because we've always been able to pull out a win. And though I like their roster, like did I say that wrong? The Seahawks.
I think Seahawks.
Seahawks have always been able to pull out a win. Okay, glad I caught myself there. But now with the addition of Yannick Ngakoue on their team, and with our offensive line being pretty unknown, more so than normal. Like, we've made a lot of changes. Made changes on center. We made changes on right guard. We made changes on right tackle. It could be a game to where if Hunter is back and Ngakoue is performing at a high level, that could really cause some destruction to our offense, even though I do think our receivers can take on the really young cornerbacks that the Vikings have. And I do like the Vikings offense as well. I do think Justin Jefferson is really going to be good for them. I think Adam Thielen will still kill it. Dalvin Cook the same way. So with the addition of Ngakoue, plus how I feel about the Vikings already, I do think I would actually give the edge to the Vikings now. I think they can be able to beat us.
Yeah, another aspect to the Vikings defense that just happens to match up really well against you guys is because they have a good pass rush. Even though their cornerbacks, I think, are going to be kind of a mess this year, their safety position is arguably the best in the league with Harrison Smith and Anthony Harris. Yeah. So that kind of can mitigate the potential blown coverage, because even if a cornerback gets beat, they've got two great safeties to kind of help out with the big Lockett or DK bombs that inevitably happen when you have Russell Wilson. But another toss-up game, but I'd go Vikings.
But if you have an elite D line too, which everybody said, they've lost Griffin, so they lost a big piece. They got a better one, I'd say now. If you have a great D line and an average secondary, that D line puts so much pressure on that it makes an average secondary look a little better. Then you add those two safeties on top. I don't think Seattle gets this win. I'd go with a loss too. I think that I think the Vikings really made Nick's poor division way more competitive.
And
it was already pretty competitive. I think this was big.
A bonus thing for all of you NFC fans who aren't Viking fans, make sure you vote Ngakoue to the Pro Bowl, because if he makes the Pro Bowl this year, instead of a second and a fifth, it goes to a second and a third. So vote him in.
Woo!
Playing the long game. I like it.
Yeah.
Then the Hawks, after a loss at home, go on the road to Arizona. I'm going to take this one first. I think you split the year with Arizona. I think the home field advantage is where it's going to be. On the road, I give you a loss because Arizona always gives you trouble. They gave you trouble last year, and they have the worst defense in football. I think their defense is going to be a lot better. Offense is going to be better. I give you a loss.
No, I would say the same thing. I think we're gonna split constantly in our division, and you're absolutely right. You know, the first game we're always competitive with our teams, but it's always the second game that gives us more trouble than the first. The first one's a bit more nerve-wracking at the Cardinals Stadium because we've had bad luck with injuries, like some really brutal injuries in the past couple of years. So I'm praying that doesn't happen again this year. But I do see the Seahawks still being able to get the win. When we come back to the next matchup, it'll go to the Cardinals.
Yeah, I think they split. And also, I think I saw an interesting stat where it's like Russell Wilson's record in his career against the Rams and Cardinals is a game above 500. So he basically just always splits with the Rams and the Cardinals. And that's with both of those teams having lots of years of being bad in his tenure. So I think it's definitely the Cardinals split, even if the Rams might not this year.
So this is in Arizona, the first game. Kyle, you said you're going to get a win here. You're going to win the first game in Arizona. I think you lose in Arizona. Nick, which one are you going?
I'll just go home win and the home loss. So even though it might be flipped for the actual year, we'll just do the home.
So that's a loss for.
I know my thinking is backwards, but it makes sense to me.
So that is a loss, and then they go back home for the 49ers to come into town. Who is getting that win there, Kyle?
Home game, but against the 49ers.
Yep, first matchup or meet of the year between the two of you. You'll play again in the final week of the year.
I'm trying to think of their wide receiver injuries. They've suffered a lot at that position over this offseason. And I'm trying to think of if Debo would possibly be back or not. I'm going to assume that he's not back yet and that we could sneak a win. But I think that could change in the second game.
Nick?
I mean, I think they split this division, and I think it might actually go Seahawks win this game and then lose in week 17.
You go home advantage again?
Yeah.
All right, well, then that's a win for the Hawks for home advantage. Now they're on the road playing big old Joshy Allen and that big arm that boy's got. Stephon Diggs ready to play. Yeah, are you, Kyle, going to get a win against the Buffalo Bills on the road?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I know we added some really great guys like Quinton Dunbar and Jamal Adams, but I just see the Bills roster just in general being way better than ours. I could see them just putting in a team effort and being able to beat us.
Nick?
I was actually going to go Seahawks. I think at the end of a game, and this might shock some people, but I think Russell Wilson's ability to win the game late, because there's so many games where they play pathetic for the first three quarters and then pull out a win. and with, I don't know if Josh Allen's really going to roast your secondary, even if your pass rush isn't getting to him.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's a close one, but I'd go win for Seahawks. So Alex, you pick the tiebreaker.
That's a loss. Big old Josh Allen got a big arm. Sorry, Boo Bear.
MVP
season.
I
love the Bills. I love them. I think we don't know what the stadium's going to be like with the noise. By this time, maybe they are letting some fans back in, and it's tougher to win in Buffalo than people think. Unless you're New England over the last 20 years, I think it's tougher than people think.
Yeah.
Now you're staying on the road, and you're going to play the Rams in L.A. I would give you a loss here because I just favor the home team. I think you're going to split, so I'd give you the loss here early.
I'll agree with that. Yeah, I think I said this with the other two division matchups. We're going to be splitting with them throughout this entire season with all these teams. So I'll go with that. I'll just pick the home team, especially since we have to go back-to-back road games. That's probably going to, cause some strain on our team. So I'll go with the Rams winning.
Yeah, I think there is a good chance. My guess going into the season would have been that you would have split with two of your divisions, and then you might have actually swept one of the other teams in your division. So I think there's a chance that you could get the 2 wins against the Rams and
Yeah.
or 49ers. Um, so I'd go with a win for the Seahawks here, but I think we already gave them a loss.
Yeah, I'm going with the loss. So that's a loss. And then they go back home. Cardinals come into town. We all said we agree split there. So that would be a win after 2 back-to-back rough road losses for the Hawks. Now you stay at home after that Cardinals game. Or no, excuse me, you go back on the road. And you play the big old Philadelphia injured up Eagles, baby. Hopefully everybody's alive. I guess let's let Nick take this one first since we're matched.
Yeah, Nick, who's gonna win? Choose wisely. Come on, Nick, who's gonna win?
The Seahawks.
Really? Is that just
Woo!
because?
Well, the Seahawks always beat the Eagles, I thought. Isn't that like a thing?
It's been a thing for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and I feel like we've never given the Eagles a loss anytime we've played them in every division we've gone through so far. So we got to give them one loss once.
Alex does not approve.
I think it could be a close game. Obviously, it depends on Carson Wentz's health. But I'll give it to the Seahawks, but I think they're both great teams.
I'll go next because I know I've already lost now. Our injuries are bad. As of today, there was an announcement that Wentz day-to-day. I don't think that's a big deal at all. And I think the media, when they heard that, Wentz is resting, we're going to make him day-to-day because they have to give him something, I think the media loses it and they lose their mind. I don't think that's a big deal. The O-line losses we've had is significant, but I don't think it's – with Jason Peters still there, who started last year and played excellent, I think it's not a huge deal even at a new position. So I think our O-line is going to be fine. Outside of that, it's just been a couple banged-up injuries. If we're healthy by this time, I think we finally break this streak of losing to the Hawks because it's in Philly. And if we have fans back by this point, I think that's huge for us. And at some point, this streak's going to break. I'm going to be hopeful that it's this year. But if our injuries are bad, I will reverse this, and it'll be a loss. But we do always play them decently well. Sometimes I think the score over the last few years doesn't show how well we've played against Seattle.
Yeah, it's always been competitive.
Yeah, but I guess that's a loss. Kyle, you want to chime in and break my heart too here, or what? Or a win?
Well, I've been saying this for a long time. Like on paper, this Eagles team is really good, but it's just a matter of the injuries, and especially the injuries that we've heard of your team over the last week. It's made me even be like, oh, God, was my hot take right or not? I'm still holding out hope. I do think, a lot of these injuries aren't, the sky is falling type of things. It's just getting banged up in practice, and they'll be fine. I do think that that team is really strong. So I'm gonna say that the Hawks will be able to win, but if this team is able to stay healthy by that point and is still as strong as I view that it is, the Eagles could easily be able to take us down.
Yeah, look, just one more thing on my team real quick because there was a Jalen Reagor injury today that is supposed to not be – it sounds like they're just doing an MRI to make sure he's good, but it sounds like everybody will be ready to go week 1 except for Brandon Brooks, who tore his Achilles a while ago, and now Andre Dillard, who was looking promising. Doesn't actually look like we're going to switch JP to left tackle because I don't think we want to pay him a little more, and I think we're going to keep him at right guard. So the left tackle will be interesting this year, but I think we're going to – the injuries feels bad right now, but I think by the time week 1 hits, we're going to be perfectly fine. Yeah. So I just go a little big spiel there, look down at the old phone for a minute, talking about my team real quick. Jalen Reagor will miss the first 4 weeks of the NFL season after hearing that he won't miss the first game. He does not require surgery, but he hurt his shoulder. And to be honest, I give Doug flack because Doug, I think, practices too hard, and I think that's part of the reason with our injuries. But this was him diving to tackle Kenyon Wallace after he got an interception. And that's on the rookie. You're a first-round draft pick. You shouldn't be diving in practice. You're not a fringe guy trying to make the team. You're going to make the team. So I think that's a bit on him. He should not be diving for something like that. It's unnecessary. So I blame a little bit there on Rager, but I think that's
I think that
a loss for the first week. But our wide receiver's still looking pretty good roster-wise, even with Goodwin out. But by the time we play the Hawks, he'll be there playing, balling out.
But I think that also is a kind of an issue on coaching of like just not instilling that this is practice, and you getting injured is the worst thing that could ever happen in practice. And it's like he's not at a risk of getting cut. Like, how did coaches not reach out to him and say, "Why are you tackling a guy who's got an interception?"
They told him after. I'm sure they told him after.
Well, they probably should have told him before.
Hopefully they did, and he just dove anyway. I don't know. I'm with you. No, coaches are part of it, but that's also on first-round rookie, I think, a little bit more than something like Dillard, who got hurt, I think, more on the coaching and him, I think that's a little bit more, we're going a little too hard. But anyway, we're here to talk about the Hawks. So they beat Philly, hopefully not, and then they go back home, and they'll play the Giants on the road. Danny Dimes coming into town. Nick, who's winning that game?
The Seahawks are probably getting a win there, especially if they've had some brutal losses throughout this year. So they're competing right now to win the division. So they're going to be bringing their A game, I think.
Nick, Kyle?
Yeah, I agree. I think the Giants will be an interesting team, but I don't think they're a very strong one. I see our team being a bit better.
Yeah, I love Saquon, and Danny Dimes apparently looks good, but that'll be a win. But then you get, there's no way, Kyle. You love this coach, who's this team that's coming in. I can't. You're gonna have to not give them the win here, your own Hawks, because you just love the Jets and Adam Gase so much. So him coming into Seattle, there's no way you're winning that game. Am I right?
Far from it. I think that we should crush Adam Gase, not the Jets, just Adam Gase into dust. And just I'm just messing. That
Adam
was a bit
Gase
much.
might not be the coach by this point. This is the fourth game left of the season, so
maybe we're the reason he gets fired. I don't know. We'll see. But I see us being able to beat the Jets.
Yeah, sounds like a win.
Yeah.
So now you're going on the road to play the Washington TBDs. I think that's a win there. I think they're gonna be like Chase Young.
I was gonna say that their defense might be a surprising defense to see, especially with Chase Young being added. It's gonna give our offensive line some problems for sure, but I just don't know what to make of Dwayne Haskins yet, and what their offense is gonna be in general. So I would just give it to Russ.
Yeah, I'll give it the win. I'll say this. I was looking at some of the deep stats on defenses and stuff because I remember thinking Washington had a pretty good defense. Their defense started well, but they actually were not that good all year, statistically.
It was 2 years ago that they were good.
Yeah, I do think Chase Young is a big piece, but I just Seahawks win that. So then you go back home and play the Rams. We already gave you a loss. We all kind of agreed there'd be a split. So I guess we're all just still sticking with that unless somebody wants to amend it. So that'll be a win at home.
Yeah. I'm good.
All right. By that same logic, Hawks at Niners, we gave them the win at home. So are we giving them the loss here?
Yeah, I still agree.
So that is the last game of the year. So that could be intense, especially if you're both fighting for a playoff spot. But if we have the Niners losing, that means your record is going to end up being.
I'm nervous.
10-6.
What, like 10 or 11?
10-6.
I mean, that's kind of right where I evaluate them. Yeah. I think they're right around a 10-win team. If things go wrong, maybe they lose a game or two less than that, but that would probably mean Russ missed a game for the first time in his career, or they're just not as good as we think. But you never know; they could win more than that.
I see him anywhere between.
I'm happy with 10-6.
I think 8-11 is where I kind of see them falling under. Maybe 7-11 if I'm being harsh. But but I think 10-6 is a
Jeez.
solid pick. I just
Yeah,
don't
I
know
would
who
say
could be a stud in your division. That's why I could be a tiny bit harsh and say I could see you winning maybe 7 games if you're real bad. But that would be that the Cards really do step up and the Rams are solid and the Niners don't have a big hangover. You're in a tough division.
yeah. Yeah, true.
We've got the Hawks at 10-6. Let's go over to the 49ers. They start Cardinals at 49ers. I think the 49ers win that game at home.
Cardinals.
Ooh.
No one's ready for the Cardinals. Everyone's studying what Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan did. This is the first time Kyle Shanahan's returned with the same team with having expectations. Cardinals get a huge upset here. Get on board.
Nick
Yeah.
convinced me I'm on board. I just leaped right on. I'm in. I'm so in.
Yeah.
Win.
And they really don't have wide receivers. And I think now that they do have Isaiah Simmons, they could cover George Kittle a little bit better. Yeah, I agree now. I agree with you.
Another interesting piece for the Another interesting piece for the 49ers is someone like Richard Sherman getting older. No one really thought he would be as good as he was last year after he hurt his Achilles, but he was awesome last year. Is he going to keep up that same level? Their defense is likely going to come back down to earth at least a little bit, and I think Jimmy Garoppolo is an average quarterback at best, and that's going to be kind of shown this year.
All right.
I think Sherman is going to make sure that a Super Bowl slump doesn't happen. He's been through that before. I mean, with his back-to-back Super Bowl runs. And I think after being so close to almost winning one with a different team, he's going to make sure like a big slump doesn't happen. So I could see them only having a little one, but not bad.
I mean, but he can only do so much. So I think he's still going to slump. But Niners at Jets. Kyle's elite second favorite team in the New York Jets. I think Niners get a win there.
Yeah.
And then they play the Giants, which makes sense that all these teams are playing Giants and Jets back to back with all the COVID stuff that they're staying just in the city for a week. So 49ers at Giants. Win? Yeah, we're all kind of.
Yeah, I'd say so.
All right, week 4, they're playing Philadelphia coming into San Francisco. Jalen Reagor could maybe be back, might not be back from what we're hearing. I think Philly wins. I don't think they're going to start 3-1. I think Philly wins.
I think you match up pretty well against the 49ers, actually, like unlike the Green Bay Packers who match up horrifically against them. I could see the Eagles getting a win before the injuries set in.
If the injuries set in, you word that correctly, sir. I did nothing but support Green Bay. Don't be mean to me now. Don't you dare.
I gave you the win.
I know, but I'm just saying, you need to be overly nice to me. Kyle?
I actually would give the Eagles the win. I believe in their roster, and I hope no injuries happen at that point. But I can see the Eagles taking them.
I'll say this about to our receivers. Some of our young guys are looking great. Some of those receivers we got late, like Hightower out of Boise State, is lighting up camp. JJ's healthy finally and playing well, so that's going to be good. So then the 49ers go, or they have the Finns coming into town. The Dolphins are coming into the Niners after a loss from Philly the week before. So I think Tua might be starting, but I think the Niners win. Looks like an agreement with the head shaking for our audio listeners. So the Niners win that game. Then the Rams come into town, they go 3 home games straight. I think, Kyle, what do you think? Do you think the Rams beat the Niners in San Fran?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one to figure out. I do think that could be a major George Kittle game, and that could make the Niners win. I just don't know who they have to replace, or who they have in their linebacking core that could be able to cover well against Kittle, I guess. So I could see that to where because of that swing, it could cause the Niners to win. That's my logic anyway. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think Niners get a win here. I do think if the Rams are going to be the fourth team in the division, that it's likely that at least they get swept by one team, if not two. And I think the Niners get a big win here. Corey Littleton is a big loss in that category, and Eric Weddle.
Oh, that's right. He
So
was with
you
them,
both-
wasn't he?
You both go Niners there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Then they play the Patriots in Foxborough. Who's getting that win there, Nick?
That's tough. Honestly, I'll give it to the 49ers just because like I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be able to throw on that defense, to be honest with you. But I think they might be able to, I think the 49ers might have a type of a defense that can handle Cam Newton with Bosa for sure. And the running game for the 49ers might put them over the edge.
Kyle?
Yeah, I'll say 49ers too. That defense of theirs will still be strong.
I think this can go either way. I think Bill kind of knows how to shut down, even though I don't think the defense is going to be as good because of all the guys that opted out. Even still with Gilmore there, that's about all I know on their defense that they have who's a stud. So, but I do think that Jimmy G wants to prove that they should not have gotten rid of him and what he could have done for them if he was their QB. So I'll give him the win, but I think Bill also will know how to shut him down. Then we have that first Hawks game. What did we say? That was a win for the Hawks. So that's a loss for the Niners. And then they play big old Green Bay Packers rolling up into town. Nick, you said a minute ago they don't match up well. You giving your pack the loss here?
Yeah, unless Oren Burks and Kamal Martin take a huge leap, or the 49ers have a huge regression, they still match up. They're our worst matchup, I think, in the entire NFL personnel-wise. So I'll give it to the 49ers.
Kyle?
I'm leaning Packers, and I don't know why. I guess just because I believe in Aaron Rodgers much more than Jimmy Garoppolo, but I don't know. I guess the Niners would just make the most sense. Yeah, they just have the defense that's tough enough to stop what weapons that we know of so far, and maybe even the run game too. Their run game defense was pretty good, so I guess I'll take Niners. That's the most logical sense, but I don't know. For some reason, thinking about Aaron Rodgers, that could be, I don't know. Something about it just makes me feel like that could be a win for you guys too.
Well, that's it.
I'll say Niners.
Had Kyle said Pack, it would have been a win for the Pack. I'm going all in Pack. I think Rodgers holds grudges, and I think Rodgers is going to shred them. I think they're going to have a slump, and I think their defense is going to regress. I think Rodgers, even if I get Nick saying they don't match up well, some games you just play great, and I think this could be one of those. I think Pack would come get it, but I'm outvoted. So that's a win for the Niners. Now they're going on the road to play the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans, in the Dome with no fans. I give the Niners a loss.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep, sure.
That's a couple of rough games. I think I don't think they beat both the Packers and Saints back to back.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I think so. So now they're going and playing the Rams in LA. Who do we have winning that game? Kyle?
I'm trying to remember. Did we say the Niners win the last one?
Mm-hmm.
The Niners did beat the Rams at home.
I'll say that the Rams beat the Niners. I just see it to where our division is so competitive. A lot of splitting is going to happen.
Nick?
I'll say Niners win and let Alex be the tiebreaker. I just think particularly George Kittle is going to be a really hard player for the Rams to stop, even with high-end talent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to the Rams at home just because they're at home, but I agree with Nick there, so that's a loss. Although maybe I'm changing my mind looking at who they play next. The big old Buffalo Bills coming into San Francisco. Josh Allen and that big cannon. I give it to the Bills because I love them, and I think it'll be a close game, but I think I'm going to give it to the roster I technically prefer. I'm the QB I prefer, which probably scares everybody because I like Josh Allen a lot, and I think Jimmy G's okay. I'm seeing shaky
Nick, what do you think?
responses.
I'd also give it to the Bills. I think they match up well enough. I think they can really shut down that 49ers offense, and I think Josh Allen might be able to make one or two solid plays, and Stephon Diggs will have a big game.
I hope this is a statement game from the Bills. Like it's in like the start of December. People are still wondering, like, they're doing really well, they're winning, but like, is this the team in the AFC that everyone should root for? And then they beat, the Niners, who are the NFC reigning champs. And I don't know. I just would like that story. I think that would be really cool. So I agree with that as well. Bills win.
So the Niners lose 3 in a row. Actually, they've lost 4 of their last 5, with the only win being over the Pack. Now they're playing the Washington TBDs in San Fran. I think that's a clear win for the 49ers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then they go on the road and play them boys who I hate so much. And that roster, there's 3 weeks left on the year. I think the Cowboys win that game as much as I hate it. I hate saying it.
I'll go 49ers and let Kyle choose. I think it is a really interesting matchup with all the weapons that the Cowboys have, but the Cowboys defense, unless they have Earl Thomas by this point, I'm going to go 49ers.
I'll add this real quick too on the Cowboys. It just depends if there's only 2 games left after this. So if Philly and Dallas, which I think are going to be the 2 clear better teams, are fighting for that spot, and then I think the Niners would actually win, because I don't think the Cowboys have the clutch gene, and I think that showed last year when their roster top to bottom was way better than our injured roster, and they couldn't beat us. So I just don't think they have the clutch gene. But I will still give it to the Cowboys right now, but I think that does play an important factor. So, Kyle, you pick.
Real quick, I got some juicy breaking news for the NFL.
Yeah.
You guys want to hear it?
I think I know exactly what you're about to bring up.
Yeah, I just saw it too.
All right, for the people at home, the Dolphins were going to trade running back Kalen Ballage to the Jets because Adam Gase is insane, and it fell apart due to Kalen Ballage having a hamstring injury. So it did not make it a difference one way or the other, but yay, breaking news on the podcast.
Honestly,
yeah,
great podcast, great news there. Biggest news you could think of. Could have been anything. So, Kyle, are the Cowboys winning at home against the 49ers?
No, actually, I do think the Niners will be angry if it goes how we're thinking of losing that many, and will want to beat the Cowboys. Also, right now, I just trust Kyle Shanahan more than Mike McCarthy, but I also just don't know what Mike McCarthy's going to do in his second regime as a head coach anyway. This is just me speculating, so right now I'll just say Shanahan and the Niners win that.
So
Mike McCarthy might have a little in the tank against the 49ers, considering he was their O coordinator like 15 years ago.
Is that like I was going to say, does that make a difference?
Just some motivation for the old guy.
How dare they?
The last 2 games for the Niners are at the Arizona Cardinals, and then the Hawks play them. We already have them beating the Hawks in the final game of the year. They're sitting at 9 wins. If they beat the Cardinals, the only game we have left undecided, which is after the Cowboy game, they would be 10-6 as well. So
you know who I'm going with.
Nick's going to Arizona Cardinals. So I'll let
Cardinals, end of the year, they're going to be flying high. They're going to bury them.
I'll say Niners. I think Niners will really want to get back to the playoffs, and they're going to make a really hard push.
For that, either the division win or a wild card.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to the Arizona Cardinals because I like them better. Nick pulled me off. I like that train, and I just don't love Jimmy G.
Yes.
I don't love Jimmy G. I think he's okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to give him – they also, if they win, then they'd win their last 4 games, and I don't see them winning their last 4 games straight. I don't see teams doing that all that often unless you're Carson Wentz with nobodies. I just don't see people doing that often. So I give them that 1 loss. So
Packers did it last year.
7.
I view the 49ers in a very similar way that I did the 2019 Bears. They had a great defense. They have some a decent play caller, some talent on the offensive side of the ball, but overall their defense will regress and their quarterback play is not going to be good enough to take them higher.
Yep. And let's be honest though, there's another seed now. Only the 1 seed gets a bye. So the 9 and 7 can be enough to get the Niners into the playoffs. Let's not act like that's such a harsh record for them.
Is that 7th seed happening this season or is it next season?
This season.
Oh, I thought it was the next season for some reason. Okay. Well, yeah, that's a good point though. That does change some things. Interesting. Okay. But but this is what I'm thinking about with the Niners and Seahawks so far. I do think it'll be close between like 1 or 2 wins. I mean, same with the Cardinals even. Like I could see them being the 9-win team while, I don't know, Niners or Seahawks are the 10 or the 11. It's going to be close.
All right, now the Rams.
All right, Alex, who's next?
The LA Rams start the year at home. Cowboys coming into town. Nick, do the Cowboys or Rams win that game in LA?
I'll go Rams. I think the Rams might have a promising start to the year, and then things might kind of fall apart in the middle. So I'll go Rams, but it could be pretty close because the Cowboys did start really hot last year.
Kyle?
I think I'm going to lean towards Cowboys.
Well, Rams get the win.
I think I'll lean towards – all right.
Well, I'm going Rams, but no, please do finish your thought, though.
Oh, I really just didn't have much. I was just going to say I think Mike McCarthy is going to have something to prove, like right off the bat. I think Dak's also going to want something to prove. That offense could be raring to go by week 1. That was all that it was.
Fun game, could be close, but I think the Rams win at home. And I'm not just saying that because they go and play big old Philly Eagles next week, or the Rams. I'm saying that because I do think that I could see that going either way, but I do think the Cowboys, I don't love their O-line anymore. They've lost pieces. Their O-line's older, and I think they're okay. And I think Aaron Donald will have a good time. And Ramsey can handle Amari, although who handles CD just depends. But I give the Rams the win. So now they go on the road and play Philly at home. I give my Birds a win there because Sean McVay has never beaten Doug Peterson, and I think that stays, especially if you're going to keep the Hawks thing alive. That definitely stays. So it's a loss for the
Rams.
All right.
I'll go Eagles.
I like those agreeing. I like it. I don't need any more talk about my injuries. Now they play the Bills on the road. They go in and play the Bills. Are we making the Bills go 4-0 against the West here? I think we are, because I think the Bills beat Rams at home. I think Bills offense gonna be hot.
Yeah, I do think the Bills get a win here. I think it's a different team they lose to.
I think Donald can make their rushing attack kind of a nightmare, but I don't know. I'm not high on the Rams defense, obviously, or at least their secondary, aside from Jalen Ramsey. So I could see Josh Allen being able to make some magic happen with Stephon and John Brown. So, do
you like the secondary in with the 49ers more than you like the secondary for the Rams? Because I can't think of anybody who's their starting safeties, and I don't know who the other corner is opposite Richard Sherman or Ramsey. And I will take Ramsey now over Sherman now.
No, the 49ers have more talent. They have a really good safety. Alexander, is that his name?
I can't think of
I'll look up their safeties. I'm spacing on their names now too. But I with experience, I would take.
All right.
Sorry, Alex, you go.
No, I was asking you. I'd take Ramsey over Sherman, but if you're both are, I don't know which is better, which secondary is better.
The 49ers have a better secondary for sure.
Yeah, I think their safety tandem is at least better than the Rams is.
But we're having the Rams
So.
lose to the Bills, right?
Yeah.
And then they go back home, and then the Giants come into LA to play the Rams. Nick, where are you going with that one?
I'll go Rams. I still think Sean McVay is a very good head coach. I think they still have talent. I'll go Rams.
I like McVay. Can be harsh.
Yep.
I like him. Although
Same here.
I think the Giants are going to be okay. I don't think they're going to be horrible. And I could see that being an upset. I think the Giants, or I'd give it to the Giants actually there personally, with a weird win. But I get why you both are going the other way. So that's a win for the Rams. Now they're playing the Washington TBDs in Washington. Win for the Rams or loss, Kyle?
Win. Yeah. I mean,
I'd go win.
It's actually gonna be a closer game, I think, because Nick mentioned this earlier. If you pressure Goff enough, Jared Goff enough, like he will not have a good game. And if Chase Young and that defensive front can be able to do that, the Redskins could win. But I think if that offensive line is able to hold up just enough, that their wide receivers are going to be able to shred the back end.
Nick,
so I could.
What popped into your head?
I actually think Washington has a chance to get a win there. Actually, I think Haskins could make something happen, or Alex Smith. You never know.
So are you both going a loss for the Rams?
I'm going to lean towards win for the Rams, but that's going to be a surprise game.
I'd give a loss, but yeah, I could see him winning too.
So then we have the Rams losing the following week to the Niners. Then they've got the Bears rolling into LA the following week. We have no clue who's starting for the Bears as of today. They announced they don't know who's starting, or they're not going to reveal it. And I don't know who's starting. I don't think either tips the scale. I think the Rams win that game, even against that defense.
I think the Bears win that game. I think we talked about this on our NFC North episode, but the Bears defense made Goff had like one of his worst games ever since McVay's been there. Even though I don't trust either of the Bears quarterbacks, and I think they could be a mess all year, I could see him getting a surprise win there, especially after
the tiebreaker there.
No, I think I said before that the Bears will win this game, and I stand by it. Their defense is just intact, and Khalil Mack's always a nightmare for Goff. So
all right, now they play the Dolphins in Miami. Did the Dolphins win against the Rams or they lose?
I think the Rams win.
I'm gonna give it to the Dolphins. Make Kyle pick. I think we're a little too.
I'm gonna say if I'm gonna imagine that the Dolphins defense is clicking and say that they actually get a win against the Rams.
Even when they're not clicking.
Aaron Donald is gonna destroy that offensive line, though.
Oh, that's a good point. I'll stick with my pick for now, but that's a good point.
So you say Rams?
Got him.
Me?
Dolphins.
I said Dolphins.
Wow.
I should have thought about the Aaron Donald thing, though. That's a good point, Nick.
So the Rams lose 3 in a row and then will beat the Seattle Seahawks, predetermined from earlier. Now they're playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa. I think that offense in Tampa, as much as Brady, I think his arm is a little weaker. I'm not saying that makes him bad, but I do think his arm is weaker. I think we saw that with Breeze as well. But their weapons alone are enough for me to put them over the Rams' weapons.
Nick, what do you think?
I think, Bucks gonna win.
And I'm the same way. Yeah.
So then we have them winning against the Niners the following week. Now they're playing the Arizona Cardinals for the first time all year in Arizona. Nick, you going with a win for your Cards there?
Cardinals get a easy win.
I agree.
Okay.
All right, so that's a loss. Now they're playing the Patriots.
They're playing the Patriots?
Rams. I think the Rams win. They still have that loss in the Super Bowl on their shoulders. I don't love the Pats roster at all.
I think
I think Rams get.
I think I go Pats win because I think their secondary is going to be good enough to hold down Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, and then they're going to be able to get pressure just because they still have the McCourty brothers and they still have Stephon Gilmore, who's probably the best corner in the NFL.
Yeah, but their whole line is a bunch of average guys. You think they're going to stop Aaron Donald? You think Ramsey can't handle?
I think Cam Newton will play good enough.
So you think it's going to go down to the quarterback play, and you think Cam will play better than Goff to get him the win?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Kyle, you're the tiebreaker.
Man. Yeah, you both made good points all around. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Aaron Donald thing. I'm going to say that the Rams win.
All right. Rams beat the Pats. Now they're playing the Jets at home. Rams. Yep.
Rams.
Now we have them losing to the Hawks, and then to end the year, but they play the Cardinals in LA. I think Cards win that game.
I agree with that. Last game of the year, the Cardinals will want to make the statement, try to get into the wild card. Yeah.
The Cardinals get a win and prove that they won the division.
Well, to some.
That puts the Rams at 7-9.
That's what I was thinking. 7-9, 8-8.
I think the Rams range is anywhere from like probably 6 games to 10.
This division is going to, I think the teams are going to beat each other up in the division. And so it's like, if the Rams were in the NFC East, they're probably winning 10 games, versus 7.
Yep. All right.
Yeah.
Now for the Arizona Cardinals, we have them starting the year as a win against the 49ers. Now they were on the road. Now they're at home for back-to-back games. They play the Washington TBDs. Nick, do they beat the TBDs?
It's a W.
Kyle, do they beat the TBDs?
How strong is the Cardinals' offensive line? I don't think I like Josh Jones too, the guy that they drafted, but I don't know if they've added enough to make it very strong.
Still not a great offensive line, but better than it was last year. But I think Kyler Murray's ability to get outside of the pocket versus a young Chase Young will be enough. And their secondary is not good enough. Who can guard Hopkins, Fitzgerald, and Kirk would be my question.
Yeah, that's a good point then. I'll go with the Cardinals. I don't think the Washington secondary is very strong.
Look, I think Chase Young is going to be great, but we don't know how good he is, and I don't think I'm not going to say he's good enough to win them games on the defensive end. I don't think he's alone good enough. I think Josh Norman doesn't do anything these days anymore.
He's not even on their team.
Oh, I thought he still was.
No,
he's a Bill, remember?
He's like the 4th guy on their roster.
Well, then, yeah, I just don't see it. So now they play the Lions at another home game. I think they get another win. I think the Cardinals start 3-0. They might start – wow, the Cardinals might –
They'll get a tie.
I'll say actually that they lose this game just because they tied them last year, and it's kind of a toss-up game. 3-0 might be a little ambitious, even though I'm on the Cardinals train fully. So I'll give them a loss and let Kyle choose.
They might go 5-0.
I mean, the Niners did that last year. It's possible.
Kyle, you pick.
I'll say 3-0. I think they can beat the Lions. I'm just not high on the Lions. I like their offense. Like their offensive weapons, and Stafford is good, but beyond that
game should be fun, to be honest. Should be a great shootout.
After the Lions, they're going to play the Panthers, the Jets, and then the Cowboys all on the road. And I think they definitely are going to end up beating the Panthers and Jets. So I'll give them – I'll switch. I'm going to give them a loss. I was going to give them a win, but I think they'll lose because I like the offense of the Lions enough to put them over. So that'll be a loss for the Cardinals because I think they beat the Panthers on the road next week.
Yeah. I think the Panthers are them or the Jags are the worst team in football. The Panthers' defense is going to be terrible.
Yeah. So now they play the Jets. Are we giving them a win here?
I would.
If it gets Adam Gase fired, so be it.
Now they play the Cowboys.
They might not have enough because also I think Buda Baker's more of a box safety. They might not have enough outside of Patrick Peterson to kind of compete with that trio of wide receivers.
And Pat being a little
Um,
older,
Close game, but I'd go Cowboys.
I'd go boys too, as much as it pains me.
Same.
Especially at home for the Cowboys. Then they play the Hawks. We determined that was a win for the Cardinals that week. And then they're going to go and play the Dolphins, or the Dolphins are coming into Arizona in the Dome. I think even with Tua playing, the Cardinals are going to win that game.
Nick, you got any thoughts? You're the Cardinals hype train
No,
expert.
I think the Cardinals have a great chance. I think Chandler Jones will have a monster game. And even though I think the defense can be much improved by the Dolphins, I think they're going to be around Fitzgerald, Tua time, and they're not going to quite be defined. Maybe Tua comes in and whips a big game out, but I'd go Cardinals.
Okay. Cardinals win there. Now they're playing the Bills at home. I think the Bills go 4-0 against this division. I think the Bills win.
Yeah, I'll give it.
I'll take that.
Mm-hmm.
So then they lose the next week to the Seattle Seahawks. Now they're in Foxborough to play the Patriots. I think Cardinals beat the Patriots because I think they don't have the defense to stop them.
I'll let Kyle choose because I'm gonna go. Even though I'm love the Cardinals, I think the Patriots actually are a pretty good matchup. The young quarterbacks have a very difficult time against Bill Belichick, and they do have the secondary to compete with those guys. But that's kind of a toss up. It really depends on how Cam Newton's playing, and obviously I'm very high on Cam.
Kyle?
Stephon Gilmore can shut down Hopkins enough, but I don't know, between Kyler's running ability, Kenyon Drake, plus, I mean, they still got Christian Kirk and Larry Fitzgerald if they are, still playing at that point. Aside from Stephon, I just see it to where that passing attack could still cause trouble. So I'll lean towards Cardinals, but I think Belichick will cause it to be a bit rough for them to win.
So that's a win for the Cardinals. Then they get a win the next week, predetermined at the Rams. So win for the Rams, or for the Cardinals against the Rams. Then they predetermined. Now they go play the Giants on the road. They got 2 games left that we haven't decided, which will be the Giants, and then they'll play the Eagles in Arizona, and then we've already determined that they will win both the last 2 games of the year against the 49ers and the Rams. I'm going to tell you, boys, as of right now, we have them sitting at 10 wins. They already, with 2 games undetermined, have the record the Hawks have, who are the leaders of the 3.
Wow.
They play the Giants in New York, and they play the Eagles in Arizona. I give the win to the Giants and loss to my Birds, and I'd have them go on 11-5.
That's what I would say. I would say they beat the Giants and lose to the Eagles.
Kyle's giggling because he's extremely upset. He's boiling.
I am.
Oh, you can see it boiling. I was listening.
Yeah.
On the
vein in the vein is popping out.
He's upset at us. He's upset, especially at Nick, who
I tried to give him a couple more losses, and you 2 voted the other way.
No, it was very fair, and I was a part of the choosing as well. I just didn't realize, the start of their season, how good that schedule looks for them.
Well, they do have a last place schedule. And Niners have the first place schedule. So
I mean, it seems that there's a huge difference in playing the Panthers and the Lions versus the other 3 teams in both of those divisions. The other 6 teams right there are all decent, but the Lions and Panthers seem like they're considerably worse, which could just be 2 easy wins, which might not be for the other teams. So is that what we're doing, giving them Giants win?
Well, I vote. Nick and I have the voting that way, so.
I would agree, but there's nothing I can do about it.
So that would have the winner of the NFC West at 11-5, the Arizona Cardinals going from last to first, following the formula of a few teams before. That means the Hawks probably make the playoffs. I don't think you're missing with even an extra seeding at 10-6. And the Niners could even make the playoffs. 3 teams from this division could do it. And this could go either way, I think, for all of these teams. These are all real close. The worst teams, the Rams, at 7-9. That's 1 game off of 500. That's not a terrible year. This could go any way for all these teams. Any final thoughts you guys have on our placement here? I know Kyle's still boiling.
I'm boiling. It was my own fault, though. I did a lot of this voting as well. I see it being more possible for them to be able to win the division now that I've seen their schedule a lot more closely. So it does change my view of them. But it's still like one of the toughest divisions, though. Like Cardinals, like as I see now, do have a chance of winning. I mean, Seahawks could still do it under Russ. Niners could bounce back. It's just a tough competition, and I think we still, chose everything out pretty well, all things considered. But no, I'm going to be boiling about this for the rest of the day now. I don't like. I wanted the Hawks to be the winners in these picks, but I don't know. We'll see how this goes.
Obviously, I'm very happy that the Cardinals won the division. I think even if it might not be the highest betting odds that the Cardinals win it, I think they have a very good chance to win this division. Looking at their schedule, their roster, I think their defense is actually a little underrated, and our offense is going to be awesome. Obviously, it really comes down to these division games because we had the Seahawks splitting a lot of theirs, and the Cardinals, I think won an extra division game. That was probably the only difference. It's really going to come down to who is able to get a couple of sweeps. And if everyone splits, then you're going to have a lot of teams right around 9-10 wins in this division, fighting for kind of the 4th seed probably, and then the 4th, 5th, 6th seed,
No, Seahawks win division. 16-0.
Unbelievable.
I'm just glad Philly gets some wins there. All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening to the Get Back Guys. What is it? I think this is episode 10 that we did. So
Double
yeah, guys,
digits.
remember to follow us at the Get Back Guys on Twitter and Instagram. Throw comments if you're listening on YouTube. Please share us around. Follow us on Apple and Spotify. Get the word out. Should have guests for next week or on Wednesday, when we drop some more episodes early for the division ones. So, yep. All right. Well, I think that's it. Thanks for watching, guys.
Until next time.
Peace out.
See
Go
you
Birds.
guys.
Audio Jungle.